They thought it was a joke. An Earthling at the Interstellar Diplomatic and Tactical Academy was already strange enough. But when Cadet Walker stepped off the transport ship with a dog beside him, they believed Earth had sent a comedian. The Galactic Academy was no place for primitive creatures. Here, beings trained to influence empires, broker planetary-level treaties, and devise multi-theater war doctrines. Yet Walker strolled in silently, flanked by a massive canine with frost-gray fur and intelligent eyes that scanned every life form with measured calculation. Nobody knew what to make of it. The dog wore no armor, no translator, just a plain collar with a blinking tracker. Some species whispered in disbelief. Others interpreted it as an insult. On Garthos Prime, such a beast would be considered a predator. On Azektel, bringing a non-sapient into a knowledge dome was a punishable offense. But Earth's representative said nothing. He registered. He walked to his dorm. The dog followed, pausing only when others got too close. Its presence felt surgical, observant, measured. By the second day, the situation escalated. The head of Xenocultural Integrity submitted an objection to Earth's conduct. The complaint noted that the Earthling's animal emits dominant signals and threatens the emotional security of telepathic species. Earth's response: Brutus is non-aggressive unless provoked. He is present under Article 12.4. Emotional Stability Companions. His presence is medically certified. They attached a document. Most skipped the footnotes. The few who didn't saw a terrifying note. Trained in 137 command words. Responds to 19 languages. Graduated Earth's Tier 1 Tactical Companion Program with honors. Clearance level, Gray. That night, the whispers turned into caution. By morning, a few species were actively avoiding the hallways. Brutus didn't bark. He didn't bare his teeth. He simply walked beside Walker like a shadow of muscle and discipline. The Academy's artificial environment couldn't read his posture. Security bots flagged his pulse as anomalously stable for a quadruped under constant alien pressure. Some suspected neural augmentation. Others claimed Earth was bluffing. But nobody tested him. Not yet. Then came the incident. First period theory class. 80 cadets from across 29 systems, 1 Earthling and 1 dog. The professor of inter-empire conflict resolution initiated a simulation exercise. Brutus sat, tail coiled around his paws, gaze unflinching. When the Zarkothi cadet, a telepath from a Psion warfare race, probed Walker with a minor, almost joking mental jab, Brutus stood. He didn't growl. He didn't bark. He crossed the distance before the professor reacted and placed a single paw on the Zarkothi's chest, pinning him gently against the metal floor. Gasp. Silence. Movement halted across the auditorium. No one knew what would happen next. But Brutus just looked at Walker, awaiting further instruction. Walker didn't flinch. Down, he said. Brutus retreated and returned to his position. That's when the Academy realized it had a problem. Two things occurred immediately. First, the Zarkothi species filed a complaint demanding Brutus be removed. Second, the Security Council reclassified the dog's threat potential from minimal to undefined. A third, unreported event. The headmaster ordered a full review of Earth's companion species' military applications. What they found disturbed them. Archived footage surfaced from Earth's past. Dogs pulling wounded soldiers to safety under mortar fire. Dogs leaping onto IEDs to shield civilians. Dogs herding panicking humans through fire. Dogs swimming across floodwaters with children on their back. Not acts of programming. Acts of choice. Earth's history wasn't filled with dominant subjugation of other creatures. It was filled with mutual loyalty, sacrifice, emotional depth between species, and every record emphasized one chilling fact. When a dog is bonded to a human, it does not stop fighting. Not until the human is safe. Or it dies. Alien instructors didn't know how to respond. Their species employed biobeasts for war, but they were tools. controlled via implants, leashes, pain, or neural chains. None of them were volunteers. None of them acted without command. Earth's model was the inverse. The dog protected even when no one told it to. It anticipated, intervened, judged. Walker's next session was sparsely attended. Brutus sat again, unbothered. Word had spread. His quiet strength now cast a wide shadow. A few brave cadets tried polite questions. Is it biological conditioning? No, Walker said. It's trust. How does it know when to act? I trained him to decide. That's insane. No. That's Earth. That night, Brutus intercepted a drone disguised as a cleaning unit. It carried a weaponized gas pellet targeting Walker's air intake system. He shredded it in 12 seconds and deposited the remains at the door of the campus director. Earth received the report, responded with, "Threat neutralized. No action required." Brutus handled it. The Academy tripled security. Not to protect Walker, but to prevent escalation. The Council of 36 summoned an emergency subcommittee. Earth's observer representative was asked for clarity. They played it cool. He's not a threat. He's family. What is his purpose here? To keep our cadets safe. Safe from what? Your assumptions. Those words echoed across star systems. Brutus's classification was updated again. Sentient adjacent. Autonomous companion defense system. Behavioral algorithms unknown. Strategic value high. Some wanted him expelled. Others wanted him studied. One delegate from the Metsari species whispered, "If this is their dog, what's their soldier like?" Walker never raised his voice. Never gloated. He trained. He studied. He performed well, but never better than the best. Except in one category. Simulation survivability. He never died. Not once. Brutus wasn't even supposed to be part of those sims, but once, he slipped in. The AI failed to recognize him as a threat until it was too late. A simulated sniper was disarmed. A minefield was cleared. Hostages were saved. Time to victory dropped by 67%. The sim was terminated early, due to unforeseen variables. The variable was Brutus. Weeks passed. Complaints dwindled, replaced by fascination. Brutus walked beside Walker through halls where even instructors lowered their eyes. The Academy's behavioral AI noted a psychological shift. Students began modeling their posture and movement to be non-threatening to canine presence. Not by policy. By instinct. One evening, Walker received a message from Earth's Command Council. Keep going. They're paying attention. Attached was a file labeled Potential Stage 2 Candidates. Brutus tilted his head as if he already knew. Outside, in the Academy's secured landing bay, a transport from Earth quietly docked. No announcement. No ceremony. But it carried 4 more crates. Inside were companions. Not dogs like Brutus, but others. One with feathers. One with scales. One with a cybernetic eye. The message was clear. Brutus was not unique. He was just the beginning. As the suns set over the glass domes of the Galactic Academy, the Council's internal server lit up with a silent, unanimous vote. Earth's species profile was amended again. From emerging cultural species to potential Class T strategic civilization. They started studying him like a weapon. Brutus wasn't listed on the Academy registry anymore as a pet. He had his own tracking profile in the security archives under Reactive Biological Unit, Earth designation. And still, he simply sat beside Walker every morning, watched lectures, and followed commands only when necessary. He wasn't there to intimidate. That wasn't the point. But the effect was spreading like a silent contagion. What unnerved them most wasn't the threat. It was the restraint. Most alien combat species showed aggression when cornered. Brutus only moved when he decided something crossed a line. That line wasn't defined in Academy protocols. It was personal. And for the galaxy's most elite minds, that made him impossible to predict. The Academy tried to test boundaries without declaring open hostility. They failed. During an unannounced field exercise, cadets were dropped into a simulated battlefield meant to evaluate survival under variable environmental stress. Walker joined without question. Brutus wasn't listed. But when the first automated drone fired a stun round toward Walker's position, Brutus broke protocol, entered the simulation unauthorized, and neutralized the drone in under 2 seconds. At first, instructors called it interference, but replay logs showed something else. Brutus didn't act randomly. He moved with purpose. He identified threats, analyzed line of sight, disarmed 2 automated turrets, and pulled a cadet to safety while avoiding active fire. The simulation AI flagged the event as corrupted due to an unregistered autonomous actor. But every instructor watched that footage 3 times. The dog knew how to fight in a simulated battlefield designed for intergalactic cadet. And he'd never been trained there. When questioned, Walker gave a simple answer. He watches. He remembers. That's what they do. The term "they" didn't go unnoticed. Multiple council observers began asking questions about Earth's broader companion species ecosystem. The request for access to training archives was formally denied. Earth issued a brief reply. Strategic doctrine regarding bonded defense organisms is classified. Brutus is not exceptional. He is trained. That is all. The denial caused more concern than if they'd said yes. Rumors circulated. Theories emerged. If dogs were trained like soldiers, what other creatures had Earth taught? Security drones failed in their scans of Brutus's neural activity. His brainwaves fluctuated in a pattern the Academy's translators couldn't decode. Attempts to install biometric surveillance near his quarters were met with quiet failure. Devices overheated, jammed, or disappeared entirely. Eventually, Brutus was marked, not to be interfered with without Earth liaison present. It wasn't long before Brutus became a symbol, not just a being. He walked beside Walker, but behind him followed silence. The once rowdy corridors where species used to jostle for dominance grew hushed when he passed. Cadets shifted. Instructors paused. Even automated janitorial units recalibrated their path. Then came the diplomatic observation. A delegation of neutral observers from the Council arrived, seeking to assess the effect Earth's presence had on the Academy. They expected military tension, perhaps xenophobia. What they found was discipline, spreading from one dog through an entire academic ecosystem. They sat in on Walker's class. Brutus lay at his feet, unmoving. A Nalkari diplomat nudged another and whispered, "It hasn't blinked in 2 minutes." The dog's presence hijacked focus. But not because he threatened anyone. Because he didn't need to. The possibility was always enough. After the session, a psychologist from Athenia attempted communication. She used empathic pulses, typically effective across species lines. Brutus didn't respond. Instead, his gaze locked onto hers with such stillness that she broke off contact and cited emotional destabilization. She claimed she felt the echo of memories that weren't hers. Running. Fire. Metal. Screams. Orders followed to the last breath. The Council began compiling data. Earth's use of companion species wasn't decorative. It wasn't symbolic. It was tactical. Their evolutionary trajectory had developed bonds, not leashes. Brutus didn't obey out of conditioning. He obeyed out of choice. Worse, he protected out of belief. A simulated kidnapping exercise was staged. Instructors pretended to seize Walker during a scheduled transport. Brutus didn't react immediately. He waited. Calculated. When the transport left the pad and its cloaking activated, Brutus moved. He followed by scent through the Academy's layered security, bypassed 3 locked doors, evaded motion sensors, and deactivated a containment field using a manual override. Logs showed he made decisions that required understanding of alien tech. He found Walker in 4 minutes. The exercise was supposed to last 30. No one ordered him to intervene. He simply decided it was time. The Director of Academy Affairs submitted a confidential recommendation. Earth cadets must be assessed individually regardless of species classification. Brutus was named Non-Sentient Strategic Asset, Tactical Level 2. The classification sparked argument. Brutus's behavior didn't match any known model for non-sentient response. Some argued he was sentient. Others said that made it worse. Walker never commented. He walked his routine, studied, trained, slept. Brutus never left his side. Never barked. Never gave them anything to study willingly. And that was the true threat. Academy AI analysts reported a strange pattern. Tension among cadets dropped near Brutus. Aggression metrics lowered. Theories proposed his presence triggered subconscious behavioral dampening. It wasn't proven, but no one denied the pattern. Conflict died in his shadow. No one wanted to test the unknown. Walker's academic performance wasn't extraordinary. He was solid, reliable, but in tactical wargames, his scores shot past prediction. Not because he was violent, because he used restraint. He made decisions other cadets didn't understand, until Brutus acted, revealing Walker had anticipated every possible threat before it happened. Their bond operated in silence. A nod. A look. One word. They didn't need technology to coordinate. The instructors reviewed Walker's profile again. Nothing unusual. Middle-rank Earth family. No military background. Volunteer for Earth's diplomatic youth exchange. The only oddity? He passed every psych eval with perfect neutrality. Not cold. Not anxious. Just balance. Like someone who grew up around quiet power. That's when the request came. The council wanted to see it for themselves. Not just Brutus. Not just Walker. They wanted Earth. A diplomatic visit was arranged to one of Earth's companion training outposts. A council vessel landed with 10 observers from 6 species. They expected hardened military personnel. Cages. Weapons. What they found instead were children. Veterans. Volunteers. Open fields. Calm dogs, alert and responsive. Not soldiers but guardians. Not killers but protectors. Brutus was there, watching them from a hill. No announcement. Just a presence. The observers were shown footage from disasters where dogs pulled survivors from rubble, sniffed out explosives no scanner could detect, refused to leave the side of fallen humans. They saw footage of a dog sitting beside a young girl under fire, unmoving, shielding her with its body. Then, they saw real-time demonstrations. No violence. Just obedience, coordination, empathy. The silence that followed the aftermath of that classroom incident wasn't due to lack of interest. It was because everyone who had witnessed what happened, either in person or through security feeds, was still trying to process it. The Kavarac Directorate, the Veln Dominion, the diplomatic arms of the Zenthri Alliance, all found themselves quietly removing Earth from their potentially manageable columns and placing it firmly under monitor without provocation. High Council subcommittees were pulled into emergency meetings. Military analysts burned through records and theories late into their cycles, trying to recalibrate their understanding of what a single unarmed human and a biological companion could accomplish. And in the deepest corridors of power, there was only one unifying question. If this is a student, what are their soldiers like? Meanwhile, in the very academy where the event occurred, the response was less reactionary and more survivalist. Berelzek, who had once led the Xenocultural Ethics Symposium, retired overnight. He didn't resign, he vanished. His apartment was cleared within an hour, and his nameplate melted by a plasma torch. Those who had mocked Juno and her blind loyalty to the Earthborn now avoided her corridors. Even the most belligerent among them didn't dare to whisper the word, pet, near her again. And as for Commander Torsen, the human who'd brought the dog, if he had been a mystery before, he was now a black hole of strategic attention. Surveillance didn't show him training or arming the dog. No weapons cache had ever been found. There was only speculation and fear, especially after the Galnet leak revealed security footage. The moment when that creature, panting like it had just finished a jog, stared down a psychokinetic noble and caused them to freeze in place. Juno had watched the footage repeatedly. She'd tried to find the trick. Some form of communication between Torsen and the dog, a signal, a tool, anything that might explain it. But there was nothing. Just the two of them walking calmly through the academy corridors, never once out of sync, like two halves of the same instinct. Things changed after that. Quietly, systematically. The galactic student body was reshuffled. Entire delegations were reassigned to other institutions. Earth's status was no longer that of a curiosity. It was now under embargo from spontaneous cultural studies. The Council issued a vague but firm directive: do not provoke or interact without clearance. Military attachés across the galaxy began reviewing humanity's dossier again, but this time with precision. The problem wasn't their weapons. It wasn't their fleet. It was the fact that their power was subtle, informal, decentralized. No grandstanding. No posturing. Just raw effectiveness cloaked in nonchalance. And worst of all, none of them seemed aware of how terrifying they were. The reports on human canines exploded in volume. Medical researchers called for access to DNA samples. Intelligence analysts attempted to draft threat models. But all those efforts stalled, not because humans denied them, but because no human seemed to understand why there was so much attention on something so common. Commander Torsen, meanwhile, continued attending lectures. Never said a word about the incident. The dog, named Bishop, was officially categorized as an emotional stabilizer, though the term had to be redefined to avoid planetary panic. Students who once viewed the pair as a joke now cleared corridors for them. Some even bowed, unconsciously mirroring submission gestures from their homeworlds. Juno found herself fielding requests from her own people back on Yethra. Questions, not about policy or trade, but about Torsen. What did he want? Was there an opportunity for alignment? And most worryingly, how many more like him were there? She had no answers. But something else stirred in her. Not fear, but caution. The kind that burns in your gut when you realize you've misjudged something fundamental. It wasn't the dog that scared her. It was the way Torsen never raised his voice, never displayed aggression, never seemed out of control. Everything was deliberate, quiet, human. Back in the Council's defense divisions, words like anthropomorphic parallel lethality and non-explicit threat coding began circulating. Translation: humans don't threaten, you just find yourself destroyed and realize too late it was intentional. One admiral from the Vorthan regime summarized it more plainly in a meeting that was accidentally recorded. We don't have countermeasures for humor, instinct, and casual violence. Weeks passed. The Academy changed its species interaction policies. No more field testing among incompatible behavioral framework. Cultural exchange forums were now opt-in, with multiple waivers. Earth was quietly removed from simulation war games due to balancing concerns. Then came the incident in Sector I-12. A Tharn military vessel intercepted what they believed to be a smuggler ship moving along an illegal warp corridor. Upon boarding, they found a human family. No weapons. No countermeasures. Just 2 adults, 1 adolescent, and a small dog. Protocol dictated containment. The Tharn executed it by the book. 17 minutes later, the entire Tharn vessel sent out a distress beacon. Every internal camera showed the same thing. The dog, now loose inside the corridors, was moving methodically, evading containment drones, unlocking doors, and disabling internal systems by chewing through very specific wires. The adolescent human shouted once, and the dog responded by herding all Tharn personnel into a single cargo bay using growls, speed, and intimidation. No one was killed. But the Tharn crew reported mental instability for days afterward. Many requested therapy for existential invalidation. One described the dog as a manifestation of instinct weaponized by joy. The the Galactic Council held another emergency session. Earth's threat level was upgraded. Official designation: Instinctual Response Civilization, Tier 1 Proactive Avoidance. It was unprecedented. Earth was now in the same category as apex civilizations that had previously caused Dark Era collapses. Not because of technology, but because of unpredictability, autonomy, and biological synergy. And the most damning part? No declaration, no threat, no intent. That's what made them dangerous. Back at the Academy, a new semester began. A new class of interstellar students filed in, briefed on Earth's unique culture and the now mandatory canine recognition protocol. Commander Torsen was gone, transferred to an undisclosed post. Some said it was a promotion. Others whispered he'd return to Earth to train others like Bishop. Juno, now one of the senior cultural advisors, gave the orientation. She didn't mention the incident. She didn't need to. It had become myth, a story recounted with reverence and strategic caution. She ended her lecture with a single sentence. If a human arrives and says the dog is friendly, believe them. Then leave. No one laughed. Not anymore. In the shadows of the galaxy, as treaties were rewritten and doctrines revised, a simple understanding spread like wildfire across war councils, academies, and think tanks. Humans don't escalate war through show of force. They escalate it by walking in with a smile, a leash, and something small enough to pet. And somehow that was worse. Because if the dog was just the beginning, what else did they bring that nobody was ready for? And what happens the day the leash comes off?